Oh, hello, my friends. I have just had this brain fart about doing a training, and it's come after I've done my own shadow work this morning. So, definitely wasn't on the cards for me to look at any shadows today. However, it really brought to the surface something that's been brewing for a little while. Um, there's definitely this evolution of Laurie that keeps happening, and it's getting harder and faster and thicker and definitely more fiery. And anyone that knows me, it's definitely, I'm definitely a fire sign, if you hadn't already guessed. But then there's also this very grounded and softer part of me that really wants to be heard and really wants to be seen and wants a place at the table. So I've been working quite closely with these different parts of me that have almost felt like in conflict with each other, but they're really starting to learn that they can coexist together without one feeling like she's fighting for her rights, and then the other one who's like backed up in a corner, feeling like she's trapped. So I wanted to create this training, and it's a little bit of intuition. So I don't have any slides for you. I could probably cut and copy and paste what I've got and throw it into a PDF just so that you've got the words and the questions, so that if you need to stop and start this training, you can. So today, this is really a meeting with your future self, and it is going to, and if you haven't already, it's going to probably bring up a few shadows for you. But the good news with shadows is that they don't like the light. Right? They do not like, I'm about to grab my selfie stick. Shadows do not like light. All right. So when we bring shadows to the surface, it's really, really good thing. Feels awkward. It feels uncomfortable. It doesn't feel natural. But the more we can bring these shadows, and listen, shadows are really just parts of us that have felt exiled. Shadows are misbeliefs. Shadows are ways in which we've been told how something should look, how something should feel, how something should be. And, a lot of that kind of societal conditioning, the things that we've taken on as truth and just don't have to be. They're not ours to own. They might be truths that came from past generations. They might be truths that you just picked up yesterday. They might be, shit that you hear in the media. But of course, the worst mistruth that we have is the one that we have about ourselves and what we can do in this world and how we can show up. So this is leading into, and I'm feeling really, really cool. My Aries energy is coming. My Taurus moon is yelling at me to really bring balance to all the trainings and the things that I do and how I show up. And then there's also this Cancer rising who is a lot softer and a lot more balanced. And I suppose that's where I've really been fighting with myself around who I am and how I show up in the world, because it's felt, yeah, a bit janky with everything that I have been learning and all these rabbit holes that I've been going down. But today, this is the training that has come to me. It is going to be about a meeting with your future self and unapologetic freedom. Now, if you have been following my journey, you've seen a lot of vulnerable posts coming through. You've seen a lot of value that I've been dropping in terms of how I'm showing up. It's whether you've got value over what the content is not so much about that. This whole thing with social media and Instagram and whatnot uh, has been an expression of finding my voice, how I'm going to say things, how I want to show up in the world, how I want to be seen. And there's been a lot of coaches that I've been working with that have been helping me to develop that out. So I hope that this is one of those trainings that just is a part of um, who you're becoming and how I can help you confidently speak into your truth and what you want to say, or how you want to show it without feeling guilty or without reprise of being cut down or being told that you can't be that person. So this one is really about stepping into your power, learning to make decisions with authority, but without shutting down other people, and most importantly, about understanding what your truth is. So many of us really, really struggle with expressing ourselves in relationships, in our businesses, in life, because there are certain fears that we have. There's fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of being misunderstood. Little Miss Laurie Cherie, who was 15 years old, had this big part of her that always felt misunderstood. So when we learn to temper our voice or temper that part of us, it's a good thing. I'm not going to say a bad thing, but there's a way in which you can do it that it doesn't have to be about um it doesn't have to be like burning down everything, right? So it's realizing that our true freedom, the thing that we really, really seek the most is freedom, FYI. And it really comes from within. It is not an external form of validation. So today what we're going to do is we're going to unlock some of that kind of inner knowing, some of that you know the part of you that's been keeping quiet, and you know the part of you that's also kind of tucked in a corner, right? So there's part of you that wants this freedom, fight, and then there's this other part of you who is just feeling trapped. So today I really want to help you shift that energy of feeling trapped and understanding where this freedom comes from, right? So first of all, part one is really to define what freedom is. So again, I will speak really quickly, but stop and start this video. What does freedom mean to you? Question number one. Write it down. What does it make you, write down what makes you feel free. So I have done this work for myself. Okay. So you're not a unicorn. You're not doing this by yourself. Laurie has just done the exact same process. Okay. Write down what makes you feel free. For me, uh, there is the song always comes to my mind when I'm free to do what I want any old time. That is like my mantra. One of my mantras back at school was the Queen song, I want to break free. So Laurie is all about freedom. She's all about that fight. She is a fierce warrior, not a warrior. This is again where the Kiwi accent comes in, right? She is a warrior. Oh God, I don't know. You get it. Okay. She is fierce, she is determined, and she is very, very independent. So she always looks for things that create freedom. Um, I really want freedom to be me. I want creative expression. I want to be unapologetic in who I am and how I show up. And I haven't always been that person because, again, this is part of me, right, that just feels trapped and doesn't feel seen, doesn't feel validated, doesn't feel safe for her either. I want to be a creator. I want to be able to draw outside of the lines, like drawing inside the lines is like, "Ugh." And of course, Laurie always, always, always wants to do things differently. She does not like walking in line doing what everyone else does. Anytime I see someone walking down this line, it's like I just want to get the fuck out of there and I want to go get in my own line. And quite often I will just go the other way. Now, it's a good thing, but it's also created a lot of shit in my life. So that freedom where I think it exists, I think is where I want to talk about today is just making sure that when you're defining your freedom, you know what that freedom is. You know what you stand for when it comes to that freedom. And you also understand where you can kind of tie yourself up in knots. So, first of all, write down what you think makes you feel free. Also, write down just some other things that I think makes me feel free is the idea of money, the idea of relationships where I'm not sacrificing who I am, and also I feel free when I'm doing things that really lift my spirit. So things that really bring joy into my life. I feel free when I don't feel tied down to one thing. And I think that's where in my early life I really struggled with marriage was because I always felt tied down to one person, tied down to one place, tied down to one job, tied down to just one thing, right? And the way in which I dealt with that idea of freedom or feeling trapped is I would then go look for shiny objects or I would go looking for grass that's greener on the other side. So it didn't always serve me, this idea of freedom. But knowing what you think makes you feel free is really, really important, okay? Because we can't change anything until we know what we think is the freedom. I also had really struggled with I always needed to have authority over my decisions. So you know, one husband called it belligerent. One husband called it determined. My current husband calls it, I don't being like to being told what to do, which is so true. I don't like being told what to do. But I can laugh about that now because when I really notice where I'm fighting versus where I'm feeling trapped, I can do something about that and I can show up in a different light. So, second part of all is really understanding your freedom as an internal state. So, freedom is not, as much as we think it is not something external to be attained, but it's a feeling within you. Your body already knows what freedom feels like, but you just may not be listening to the whispers of your soul, the things that you actually want, your truest desires. Freedom is stirred up, right, in your soul when you're willing to seek answers from within rather than outside sources. So this is why this training is so important because your future self doesn't look for external validation. She doesn't look for outside things to create freedom for her. She knows what her freedom is and she fights for the right type of freedom. So write down where you don't feel free. There are some areas in my life where I still don't feel free, and that's great. Awareness is everything, right? So write down those things. If you're struggling for some ideas, the Wheel of Life is always a really good place to start. That's a really good life coaching tool. It's a big circle divided into different segments, and you can look at, where you don't feel free. Is it your relationship? Is it with your relationship with alcohol? Is it your relationship with money? In your job, in your business, in your career, in your health, in your self-love or your self-care rituals or practices, or maybe in your spirituality. I know that was a big, big chunk for me that was missing because I had this idea of a interpretation that religion was spirituality, and I was not about being tied into a religion, right? So just watch my thinking on that. Notice where Laurie's brain went to. I thought religion meant XYZ, meant feeling trapped, versus spirituality, which is all about wholeness and returning and home and light and dark and shadows and uncoverings and self-discovery and meaning and purpose and all those beautiful things, right? So look into spirituality. Is that a place where you might feel free if you were to incorporate that into your future self, and what her life looks like? What about fun? What do you do for fun? Do you feel free with fun things? Do you feel free to travel? Do you feel free in your personal development? Are you doing enough? Is there more you could be doing for yourself or in terms of who you're learning to become, right? So, what areas of your life do you really feel free and which areas of your life do you feel trapped? Um, all right, so once you've done that, feel free to stop and start this. I'm going to cut this up into little bits and pieces. So, okay, this is part two. This is meeting your future self. This is where you can visualize and embody the version of you who has fully embraced freedom and self-trust. And what I'm going to do after this is I'm going to record a really, really short, maybe a 5-minute visualization that's going to help you. It's going to incorporate these 5 questions. What would you do from your future self? What would you say from your future self? Where would you go from your future self? Who would you be as your future self? And how would she show up? How would you show up as your future self? This future version of you is grounded, she's unapologetic, and she's clear in her truth. She no longer operates from fear, from guilt, or from these external expectations that other people have put on her and that she's taken on as her own. She is free and she is you. You could even attach to that if you feel called to, and I don't want to overwhelm you with too many things to do, right? Is write a letter from your future self. So your future self has something that you want. She wants to feel free in a certain area of her life. She has obtained that freedom. Ask her, what does it feel like? What is she doing? What is she saying? What are the things that she's believing now? What are the things that she's incorporated into her life, into her spirituality, into her DNA of who she is? What does she absorb in as energy, and where does she let things repel and run off her, right? What type of energy has she got? Is she connected? Is she expressive? Is she loved? Is she strong? Is she creative? Does she feel safe? And once you've done that future visualization, again, do some more journaling. Awareness is everything, my friends. Okay, we are also going to do a short EFT. Again, this is not to overwhelm you. This is simply just to bring in some of the answers from your journaling practice that you've just been doing, your answers that you've sourced from within, and to shift some of that energy that feels a little bit trapped, okay, around some of those misbeliefs or those fears or those rejections that may have kind of crept into your life. So what we can do is I'm going to show you the tap, and then I'm going to actually recreate it as a separate video to this. Okay. But just to help you understand about tapping, what we're going to do is I'm going to show you. All right. So we're going to set the intention first. And the intention is I release the belief that my freedom depends on external circumstances. Incorporate some breath into this as well. I choose to feel free in my body, in my mind, and in my choices. And then we're just going to keep tapping. Even though I have felt trapped by rejection, by failure, by expectation, and by fear, I deeply love and accept myself. I free myself from the need for approval and allow myself to be unapologetically me. I create safety in my authenticity. I trust myself. I am the creator of my reality. My freedom is within me. And you could do that again. I release the belief that my freedom depends on external circumstances. I choose to feel free in my body, in my mind, in my choices. Even though I feel trapped by rejection or the fear of failure or expectation, I deeply love and accept myself. I feel I free myself from the need for approval and allow myself to be unapologetically me. I create safety in my authenticity and breathe. I trust myself because I am the creator of my reality, and freedom is within me. Breathe. Okay, the next part is integrating this work. EFT, we've shifted some energy. Now just reflect on some of the following questions. How can I free myself from rejection, from failure, from expectation and hurt through self-acceptance, self-love, and self-trust? And you could just pick one of those three themes. So, and maybe on a piece of paper, you could write at the top self-acceptance, self-love, and self-trust. How can I free myself using one of these three things? How can I create safety in who I am and what I want for my life without worrying about others' opinions and making the wrong decision or the wrong choice? What actions or what baby step will I take today to embody my unapologetic, soul-led self? When I act from my soul and from who I am being, what baby steps, what action could I take, knowing that it's safe, that I fully accept myself and that I fully love myself and I fully support myself to do or to make the next move or to do the next thing without worrying about what other people think or making the wrong choice. So just reflect on some of those questions. They're big questions to ask, right? So you might not do all three. They could be just journal prompts that you look at over the next week, over the next month. But definitely take a look at them. Everything is created from awareness. We cannot create, well, until we slow down and see how we create our current results, which is through our thinking, through our belief systems, and through our energy, then and through, of course, how we show up, then it's going to be really hard to know how we can create new results in our lives or new outcomes or how we can manifest something as our most authentic self and as our most unapologetic self. So this training is just simply the beginning of meeting your future self and her dreams and what she wants and being unapologetic and going towards those. Your journey towards becoming unapologetically self-led is about trusting your voice, it's about honoring your needs, and it's about allowing yourself to take up space without apology. When you lead, my friend, from a place of self-trust and inner authority, you don't need to control other people. You don't need to suppress yourself to feel heard. You know who you are and you express it with integrity. So, my question to you, my friends, is are you ready to step into your future self shoes? Are you ready to really embody your future self? This version of her, this version of you. Something I wrote today that I want to share with you. She is fire, she is light, surrendered, whole, accepting, gravitational, lifted, and free. She's not anchored, she's grounded. She is ready, she is loud. We can be both. Heal each other and work together. She is the storm, she is the clouds, she is the sun, she is the moon, she is the shadow, she is the light. She carries us, she cradles us. She is me. And if she was unapologetically soul-led, who would she become? Enjoy, my friends.